So then from there, we got back to the States, and I put in for new construction. I was getting tired of no liberty, because it seemed like we didn't get any liberty on that ship. We was always at sea. So I put in for new construction, and they took me off of it in Hawaii and sent me by tanker. I think it was a Canopus or something, back to San Diego, where they put me on the Shawmut. Then the Shawmut took me through Panama Canal and up to Norfolk, Virginia.
So what year was this?
What?
What year was this?
That was 1938.
38. Okay, so now you're in Virginia.
Well, because that's where they built that brand new aircraft carrier Enterprise. And so I was going to be what they call a seasoned crew member, because at that time I was a seaman first class, which would be, I suppose, like an able-bodied seaman in merchant marine or something. But I was up at third pay grade, and so that was the purpose of that. So the minute I hit the Enterprise, they made me executive of the second division of men. They had a third class boatswain mate. He was top guy, and I was seaman first class Carl Marble. I was second guy. I was like the executive officer of the division. And so then that was 1938. We're in now the Enterprise in commission. So
you helped build the Enterprise?
No, I didn't help build it. It was finished. It come out of dry dock, brand new aircraft carrier.
Okay.
CV6. And her sister ship was CV5. Well, CV5 come out just ahead of it, but there was something wrong with her. She wasn't quite right. So we ended up by taking the CV5, which was the Yorktown. We took her shakedown cruise to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And that was a beautiful trip. And it was beautiful down there, too. Then from there we came back. Well, we crossed over the equator to do that. Of course, we had.
So we need to interrupt and ask. So
you crossed the equator and you became a shellback. You were a polywog, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I wasn't. I
crossed the
Well, I
equator?
skipped it. I did that on the Earhart cruise.
Oh.
He was a princess.
The notable part of that was, and I don't think a ship has ever done it today again, we crossed the international date line, which is the 180th meridian, and the equator, which is 0. We crossed them where they cross. The first time a ship in the Navy had ever crossed in 85 years. I don't think one's ever done it since. And the Navy Department didn't even have any kind of paperwork or charts or cards or anything. So they had to make it special for us, because I become a polywog and a shellback at the same time.
or a golden dragon?
What?
Or golden dragon?
Yeah, golden dragon for shellback.
Yes.
And
Both.
polywog for the other one. Because I crossed the 180th and the 0 exactly at the same time. And that's history. I've got that thing down in my room. I've got the thing that they had to purchase for us. It's a combination. And on there, they also had the old Lexington with 3 tin cans on its stern on that same thing. And they never put the ship on those things. But in this case, they did. And because it was made privately, I guess, for that special occasion. So when I crossed on the Enterprise, that's just a plain old...
An old shellback, huh?
Yeah. Because all I was there just making a shellback. I have also been across the equator various times, by air. I've been everybody can cross the darn equator every way except the submarines. I've never done it there, but I've done it with all kinds of ships and airplanes and everything else.
Okay, so you sailed down to Rio de Janeiro on the Yorktown.
Well, I was Rio de Janeiro in 1938, summer of 38.
So how did it end
On
up?
the way down to Rio de Janeiro, we pulled into Puerto Rico for the 40th anniversary of the landing, 40th landing of Puerto Rico, of American forces. So you run that back, and that meant that we landed in Puerto Rico in, 1898, I guess. Yeah, because this is 38, and it was the 40th landing. So I was in the landing force. I was their supply officer for the landing force. And so we go ashore, and our planes were flying over, and they were playing baseball. The Shaw was one of our tin cans, brand new destroyer. So its team and our team were playing baseball. And we were marching, and all the big wigs were setting up in front of a viewing stand. And just before we get to the viewing stand, some big black touring cars come steaming up, and people jumped out of them, and they're shooting at the reviewing stand. So they're trying to assassinate. I think they did kill a captain of the National Guard or someone. And next thing I know, here's a bunch of officers coming up, and they were in patrol cars too, open, no side curtains or anything. They come steaming up, and they grab these guys because they were shooting at the reviewing stand, but there was people up there that were shooting back at them. So they shot them all. They were all down. And where they came through was right where the landing force, we had 120 men or something, and then we had the Enterprise band ahead of us. And then there was an interval of probably as long as this room here, and that's where they went through shooting. So they didn't get any of us, but all those assassins went down. And later on that day, we were still on the island, I walked down to where the viewing stand was, and all they had up there was just 2x4s and then craft paper stapled on those 2x4s to make the reviewing stand. And so Pathé News was down there, and they were painting black circles around all those holes in that wrapping paper and filming it for the news back here. So I got a picture of that. So that was that one.
Wow.
Then,
Just on the way to Rio de
Huh?
Janeiro. And that was just on the way to Rio.
yeah, it was.
Did you ever make it to Rio?
Then we went to Rio. Of course, we had Ipanema Beach and Copacabana Beach. And
Oh, they let you off the boat for once.
we had some real good restaurants down there. The only thing is we didn't have English. I know one day we was out there and we was mooing like a cow and clucking like a chicken because they wanted steak and eggs. So, you know what the Brazilians done? They cooked them a whole chicken. There you go. Chicken, I didn't know the chicken mooed, but they got a chicken. And but it was a nice place. It was a beautiful place, you know, and I never forget it. It's one of the most beautiful harbors in the world. Another thing there, we left an airplane for our naval attaché down there. We left an old F-2F for him. And no, we left an F-3F for him. And he had an F-2F, and we brought that back on the ship. As I recall, that F-2F was a biplane, where the F-3F was just a single wing. So I got to start with old planes and everything else. Sometimes we'd have radio-controlled planes on the flight deck. I know one time we pulled down into Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and we had 3 or 4 of these. Well, we didn't call them drones then. We just called them radio-controlled planes. And so we get in there, and they're going to send these radio-controlled planes over to the Naval Air Station, Guantanamo Bay. And so there's guys up there, and they're cranking and cranking and cranking. They're standing on that wing and cranking. And some old chief come by and said, "You dumbbells, why don't you crank it the other way? It'll start." So they listened to him and cranked it the other way. And hick, 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 boom, 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 off it was ready to go. You just had to crank it the correct way, that's all. And those young people just didn't know. The plane was too old for them. So that was radio-controlled planes that we left in. Now what they used these radio-controlled planes a lot of times was towing targets. In other words, up around our flight deck, there was always 50 caliber machine guns. I'm talking about just circling the flight deck. And so they would tow a target across the ship, and we'd try to knock it down. Well, of course, the guy in that plane up front, he was worried that he might start shooting a little bit too, lead that target too much and get him. But so I know we use radio control planes sometimes for that. I'm on the Enterprise. Oh, the next thing happened. Nothing spectacular or anything. Back and forth to Hawaii and that sort of thing, and fleet maneuvers, Panama, Hawaii.
Tell us real quick about a Liberty. You ever get off the ship in Honolulu, or we want to hear some details here, Carl?
Oh, getting off a ship in Honolulu? Well, I was transferred to the Admiral's Flag Administrative Group, and this gave me a little bit better liberty. But I could have 24-hour liberty with the staff. That's what effect I was in. And so the Army Air Corps give up their field, which was called Luke Field, on Ford Island. They had half of Ford Island. So they give that half of the Ford Island to the Navy. We already had the other half. Now we got it all. But they had a little strip there for P-40s, P-39s, and that was a big enough strip for carrier planes, because it was longer than our field on the ship. And so I'm on Ford Island, and I and 3 other guys were tasked to set up a supply aviation services for the carrier planes when they were in port, because the Air Force didn't leave us anything. So we had to set that up. So we were working for that, and of course we were attached to Admiral Halsey's outfit, because he was the flag, he was the admiral at that time. And he went through flight school when he was 54 years old. And he then became Comair Pac. And in Liberty in Honolulu was pretty good. We could go any place we wanted. In fact, we used to take the truck. We had 2 trucks. We had a stake truck, and we had a pickup. And we'd take the stake truck and put a bunch of stuff on it, and we would take off and drive someplace on the island and have a picnic. And maybe we'd even stay overnight there. And so we had it pretty nice, the guys with us. But like I said, there wasn't many of us. And when the squadrons would come in from the ships, we'd get 2 storekeepers. There would be 4 squadrons, and we'd get 2 of their storekeepers to help us, to serve as their own people, you know. And so